Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. We complete inshallah our series of classes. So last week we finished the common mistakes that happens with pronouncing the Arabic letters up to the letter Noon. So we finished page number 106 in the book, and today inshallah we'll start with page number 108 inshallah. So the first one is the most prominent mistakes which occurs when pronouncing the letter Ra. The letter Ra. So as always, we're gonna read this and make some explanation and get some questions inshallah to clarify. The first one is changing it into ghain. Changing it into a ghain or an indefinite oral sound. So indefinite when some people just make it like Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, like this. The ghain is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, right? Now normally these happen with people who already have some issues with pronouncing the letter Ra in their normal life, or some people who have non-Arabic, mainly English as a first language, because they don't say the Ra, the Arabic Ra, they say something like R or something like that. So you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, like pronounce the Ra in English, or as some people say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So these are common mistakes which could be easily fixed by following the articulation point as described in the book. You have to push the tongue to the end of the top surface of the mouth, and then push against that area. How can you verify that the person is not doing this because of a physical limitation? Is by comparing it to harful lam, because both of the letters are coming from a very, very close area. So if the person can actually pronounce harful lam properly, that means they can pronounce harful ra properly. It's just they haven't practiced on it. One of the practices you can use is what we call the pencil practice. So you get the pencil underneath the tongue, and then you push it up and tell them to say R, becomes like this. And then slowly they will find out what they are missing, because if they don't do this, it becomes just like Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. They are not pulling the tongue up. So the only thing they need to do is just to learn how to push that tongue and use the pencil for that initially, but then it will be an easy fix after that. The second common mistake is making it heavy when it should be light, or making it light when it should be heavy. So the two examples we have is the word muddakir. Some people say muddakir. If you stop on it, the rule, as we explained it before, the ra has sukoon, so you look before it. Before it there is kaf with kasra. Kasra with a sukoon, that means it's lowered, it becomes light. Muddakir. Not if you proceed, if you say muddakirun. In this case, the ra becomes heavy because it has a dhamma on it. The other example is the word Maryam. What happens here is the ra has sukoon, so you look before it. Before it there is fatha, after it there is ya, so you don't have any reason for it to be lowered. So in this case it has to be heavy. Maryam. Many people say Maryam. Yeah. Now why do they say Maryam? It's because of the dialect, the language that we use on a daily basis. Many people, if they have daughters or they have sisters, they call Maryam. Nobody call them Maryam. Yeah. But in the Quran we have to follow the recitation rules. The third one is The third one is exaggeration and repeating it when it's stressed or sakin. So we said that the tikrar or the takrir is one of the characteristics for حرف الراء. However, it's only one تكرار, one repetition. So our, you see there's a repetition happened and finished. That's it. But when you say ar, that's unwanted, that's unneeded repetition. So when we say repetition, it's only one iteration, not multiple iterations. So when people say ar-razzaq, ar-razzaq, that's wrong. Why? Because we made multiple repetitions. It has to be ar-razzaq, ar-razzaq. There is, sometimes there's, I did it in both faces. Sometimes it's one repetition. Sometimes it's two. Why? Because there is ra with shadda. So it's actually, there is initially a ra with sukun, and then there is a ra with a fatha. So two of them. Ar-razzaq. You see, there are two. Or sometimes you could do it as one big bulky one. When you say ar-razzaq. So both faces, inshallah, it shouldn't be a problem. Because I heard this, both of them from teachers. And I don't know which one is, to be honest with you, the most authentic. But Dr. Ayman in his lecture, he was talking about twice. So ar-razzaq or ar-razzaq, both of them inshallah should be okay, as long as it's not ar-razzaq, you know. Oh, same thing with irji'u. This one you can't do multiple because there is no shadda on the ra. Qila irji'u, ir, one. And you have to notice here as well, which is one of the common mistakes that is not mentioned here, is when people do qalqala on it.
Question, Sheikh, 1 minute.
Yes, Habib.
If I say قيل ارجعوا, that's tafkhim. But if I start with it ارجعوا, there is no tafkhim, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because of Hamzat al-Wasl. So Hamzat al-Wasl is, when this appears قيل, it becomes fatha. But if I say from it irji'u, it becomes tarqiq. Yes.
Jazakallah.
Wa yakum, inshallah. The other one, which it's not mentioned here, so you can add it by yourself, is the qalqala. Some people do qalqala for the ra. They say qila raji'u, qila raji'u. You see how they do the qalqala on the ra? That's also not allowed. It has to be ra. Now you need to remember with the ra, when it has sukoon, it's one of the in-between letters. So it has a little bit of extra time when you pronounce it. Some people, what they do is they also cut the voice. They say qila ji'u. That's also not allowed, because now you made a sakta, which is not how you pronounce it. So it's not you make a cut on the voice, and you're not making qalqala. You have to keep the ra running for a very short period of time. qila ruji'u, qila ruji'u, qila ruji'u, like this. Make the sound continuous, one ra. You have to learn how to restrain your tongue from, flipping because of the accents that we have. Normally you are accustomed to saying qila ruji'u, qila like this. Yeah, that's not acceptable. The other one is what we call hasramat al-ra'at, or the making it restrained. Making it restrained. So that's mainly for people when trying to make what we call an-nabr on the ra' with shadda. So when you have ra' with shadda, you want to increase the pitch a little bit to discriminate it between that ra' and the normal ra' without shadda. Like when you say ar-Rahmanir Rahim, instead of that, they're trying to emphasize on the ra. It becomes ar-Rahmanir Rahim, like this. They push it too far. So it becomes as if you are stopping. You're making this ar-Rahmanir Rahim. You're making it strong. Yeah? It becomes very shadida, intense, strong. The other common mistake is circling the lips with the ra when it's heavy, mainly when it's heavy. And that's general problem with all of the heavy letters. Anything that's becoming heavy, people, sometimes they use the lips to produce the heaviness. Like when you say so, or bo, or to, all of these letters, the ra is also similar to them. They try to make the lips closed, which is, we know that's the articulation point of harf al-waw, and they add that to all of these letters, and what they end up doing is they end up adding what we call ishmam to the letter. So they are mixing the letter with another letter, which is not allowed. So the example here, the mispronunciation is Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Some people do this. There is also another terminology for it. We call it i'mal al-shafatayn. I'mal al-shafatayn is only using the lips is only allowed for in the letters which require the lips to pronounce them, and the waw, right? The waw, the fa, the mim, the ba. These are the letters which require the lips. Otherwise, the other letters are not necessarily required for that. The sixth common mistake is not making it clear when it's made sakin, when stopping on it. So that is because they are missing the sifa, the characteristic of the in-betweenness, al-bayniyah. When you miss that characteristic, you end up stopping on the ra without making it clear. The examples are, there are full surahs, which like Surah Al-Qamar or Surah Al-Asr, there are full surahs you can practice on them how to stop on the ra in the last as the last letter of a word or an ayah. The examples here, we have the word khusr, khusr, khusr. You see the ra is, if you don't say that, it becomes innal insana lafi khusr. Some people pronounce it like that. You don't see anything. The ra is gone. They stopped on sin. Khus, like this. Has to be, the ra has to be clear. Khusr, khusr. So you do the scene, you give it its looseness characteristic, the whispering characteristic, the looseness, everything, And then you come for the ra, you also give it the characteristic. Now the ra could be, in this case, it's heavy. Khusra, khusra. Why it's heavy? Because it has sukoon before it there is dhamma. So you stop on it with heaviness. Khusra, khusra. Also, you don't say khusra, now you added fatha to it. Or some people say khusra, now they did the mitqalqala for it. That should be very clear. You go for the articulation point, you hit the articulation point, cut the voice, leave. Khusra, that's it. Cut the voice and leave. Don't keep the voice running. If you keep the voice sound running after you touch the articulation point, you end up doing qalqala or you're doing lots of things. If you cut it too early, it becomes as if you stopped on it shadid, without the in-between characteristic. So there's a very specific place where you need to cut the sound and then go for the next ayah. Next one is as-sihr. As-sihr. Now this ra is as-sihr. As-sihr. This ra is lowered, right? Because it has sukoon before it, there is sukoon before it, there is kasra. So it has to be also pronounced, but you can't say it like the same way they say khusra. You have to say as-sihr. As-sihr. Like this. The ra has to be lowered in the end. Or light. Let's call it light instead, because its terminologies are very specific. Any question on the ra, brothers? Sounds easy in theory. And lots of confusions happens when people do the recitation. So yeah, it requires a lot of practice. The next one is the most prominent mistakes which occurs when pronouncing the ta, the dal, and the ta. Now these three letters come from the same articulation point, but we realize that each one of them has different characteristics. The ta being the heaviest one of them. The common mistakes, obviously, the first mistake is whispering it. Whispering it means making it sound like a ta. So not in terms of lowering, so it's still high, but added whisper to it. So instead of فطال فطال, it becomes فطال فطا تا. Ta, ta is not ta. The ta has some T to it, has some harf ta to it. So this additional whispering that comes to it is not welcome. The other one is lowering it completely, so making it like ta, you know. So when you say tibaqa instead of tibaqa, tibaqa, and notice how I'm not saying tibaqa, I'm not closing my lips. So the lips has nothing to do with heaviness. Heaviness happens in the back. He's saying طيباقا طيباقا instead of saying تباقا, right? Now حرف الدال, mixing its sound with a hint of the ta. مالك يوم الدين مالك يوم الدين. That's the correct pronunciation. The wrong pronunciation, مالك يوم الدين مالك يوم الدين, like this. What happens is they are ready for the ya after it, so they lose the strength of the حرف الدال. حرف الدال حرف شديد, strong letter. حرف الدال حرف شديد, strong letter. Has to be, if you stop on it, you'll be able to do قلقلة. ad. You know, it's, if you don't do the qalqala, it becomes ad. That's it. Shadid. There's no looseness in it. And the ta is loose letter. No, sorry, it's not loose. It has whisper. Sorry. أجد قاطن بكت. That's a slip from my side. Sorry. The other mistake is now just to rephrase. So when you say ad-din and at-teen means figs. Ad-din means the religion. So that type of mistake is a major mistake because it changed the meaning into another word which has a meaning. Yeah, so it's a very major one. The second common mistake with harf al-dal is making it heavy, as in the word sudur. Sudur. Sometimes people say sudur, sudur, fi sudur, fi sudur. What they did, they kept the lips closed between the sad and the dal, sudu, like this. Because of that, they didn't get the chance to go back to the dal and fix its articulation point. Instead, you need to do fi sudu, fi sudu, fi sudu, sudu, sudu. You finish the sad, the dhamma of the sad, then you go for the dal, then you do the dhamma for the dal. One thing at a time. Once you do it this way, then the dal will come from its natural articulation point, which is lowered. So the sad will not interfere with the dal. Fi sudu, fi sudu, like this. حرف التاء. The first one is exaggeration in whispering it when it has a haraka. So that is also due to dialects of some nationalities. Not all people pronounce it this way, but instead of saying تتوفاهم, instead of that they say تتوفاهم, تت, like this. So they add more whisper to the ta. So that's, you see this predominantly in North African countries like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. They say تتوفى, تتوفى, like this. The other one is making it heavy. When is that? When does that happen? That happens when it's next to a heavy letter, especially if it's a ta. So the word we have as an example is the word تطمئن. 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 It becomes تطمئن. تطمئن. Right? That's the wrong pronunciation, because now what happened is the ta pulled the ta with it. You know, تطمئن. It It has to be ta, تعطوا تعطوا مائين تعطوا مائين. Next one is neglecting to give it a whispering sound, especially when it has sukoon. So we said that the حرف التاء is حرف شديد, but it's also whispered. There are two letters like that, the kaf and the ta. The two of them are strong letters if you stop on them, but that's why you run away from them by doing the whispering. So the example is when you say تتمارى تتمارى, you see I'm doing the whispering. It's a very fine whispering. If you don't do this, it becomes تتمارى, as if I'm saying ددمارى, dada, right? It has to be تتمارى تتمارى. There is some whispering here. So some people teach wrong. Some people teach, they say don't push it too hard, don't make the whisper in there. But then you're mixing the ta with the dal. You're mixing the ta with the dal, you know. It has to be tatamara. That's completely okay. That's how the letter is pronounced. Or if you say tatra, tatra, you see the second ta, because it has sukoon, we make additional whisper on it. Tatra, tatra, like this. Some people teach wrong as well on this one. They say no, don't do this. Just say tatra, like this. Tatra, it sounds like tadra, you know, or dadra. So we need to be very, very careful with that, with its whisper. Any question on these three letters, brothers, before we go for the next? It's perfect. Okay, sounds like we're looking good. Let's move on. The next letter is where did we get to? Sorry. Yes, page 110. The most prominent mistakes which occurs when pronouncing the whistling letters: the sin, the sad, and the zai, the three letters. The first one is weakening its whistle. Weakening its whistle. Now we know that the three of them, because there are three of them, the s, as, as, they are loose letters. All of them are loose letters, رخوة, حروف رخوة, which means when you pronounce them, especially when they have sukoon, you have to give them enough time. You have to give them enough time. So when you say الصالحين, الصالحين, here we have the shadda before, so the shadda has two sides. The first one of them is sukoon, so you give it enough time, and then you go for the next side, which has the fatha. So this one should be given enough time. Otherwise, what people do, they say as-salihin, as-salihin, like this. You know, they pass on it, as-salihin, like this. It has to be as-salihin. You give it enough time. Whistle, and also heaviness, because that is, the sad is a heavy letter with a fatha with the alif after it. That's the heaviest level of the that's the highest level of tafkhim, of heaviness. Al-masjid, al-masjid, masjid, that's how you see it. You say it, sorry. If you don't do that, if you reduce the weakening the whistling, it becomes al-masjid, al-masjid, very light. Yeah, it has to be al-masjid. Don't be shy with the whistle. يزكى, يزكى, instead of يزكى. Yeah, that's weak, very weak. The second one is, it's a very common mistake as well, using the lower lip when pronouncing both of them, the sad and the zai specifically. So some people say as-salihin, as-salihin. Can you explain how you say sabr? Sabr. While pronouncing the qalqala and the heavy ra. Okay, brother. Inshallah, we'll do this. So When you say الصالحين, I'm not using the lower lips, but some people say الصالحين, like this. يزكى, يزكى, that's obviously over, you know. The third one is circling the lips when pronouncing the sad, similar to what we said before. People do the circling of the lips because they want to make the heaviness of any letter. So in this case, when you're saying as-salihin, they say as-salihin, as-salihin. If I close my lips, if I don't show you, you can easily tell the difference. I'll say both of them without any order. الصالحين, 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 الصالحين. You could easily tell the first one and the fourth one where with the closing of the lips. The fourth one is making the side light, as in the word al-masir, al-masir. Now, instead of saying that, some people say al-masir, al-masir. Light side means seen. Light side means seen. Al-masir, you know. No, it's not al-masir. Al-masir means the walking. The walking. Al-masir means the destination or the destiny, right? The fifth one is making the scene heavy, as in yes, turun. So the same pattern, you see what's happening here is there is a heavy letter after the scene. The heavy letter is normally pulls the letters before it accidentally. So instead of yes, turun, it becomes yas, turun, yas, turun. والقلم وما يسطرون, يسطرون. You can say والقلم وما يسطرون. You can say that, yeah. The sixth one is mixing the sound of seen with a zai, as in the words, for example, wasjud, they say wasjud, wasjud. Or the word al-masjur, they say al-mazjur. Or the word rijs, rijs, they say rijs, rijs, right, like this. So that's also because of the dialects. Some people's dialects influence that. Now we have a question from Brother Ghariz, which is it's kind of not relevant for the sad, but it's a good question. So the question goes, can you explain how to say the word sabr while pronouncing the qalqala, as well as the heavy ra sakin, right? So that's the word as-sabr, as-sabr, like this. So what's happening here is you have the sad initially, which is heavy, then you have the ba, which is lowered with qalqala, and then you have the ra, which has sukun, which has heaviness because of the fatha before the letter before it. So when you say that, you have to clarify each and every letter's characteristic. That's all you need to do all the time. So that was always my answer for all of these questions of when you have two sakin letters following each other. Just make the characteristics clear. First one is sa, sabe, sabe, sabiru, 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 like this, you know. Obviously the qalqala here, because what you see that what I did, the first one is when you say sabe, that becomes qalqala kubra because it's in the end. But when you're connecting it, it becomes qalqala sughra. It becomes the smaller type of qalqala. So it becomes sabiru, 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 like this. Does that clarify the answer for you, brothers? Okay, I think that sums it up for these three letters. Yes, okay, no answers, that's good. Now we do the other three letters, which is the gum letters, the huruf al-lathawiyya. So on the حروف اللثوية, we have the common mistakes. The first one is pushing the tongue out more than required the amount to pronounce them. So that's because of the teaching style. Some people say, when you say the and it's not the, so you have to pull your tongue out and they push it too far. So they teach you to say adh, like this, you know. Don't push it too far. It's the articulation point is the tip of the tongue touching the tip of the upper incisors. Adh, adh, eth, arv. The three of them are from the same location. The second common mistake is putting the tip of the tongue at the gums or the inner surface of the upper incisors. I don't know even how they do it, but because they are trying to mimic the definition as per some of the scholars, right? So they say والثاء والثاء والذال والذال وثاء وضاء والضاء وذال وثاء للعليا من طرفيهما ومن بطن الشفة. So they say they try to push the definition, which is saying the upper gum, and they think the upper gum is the area here behind the teeth. So they say adh, 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 ath. I don't know how they do it, you know. It's very simple because in the Arabic language, when you say the gum, it includes the teeth. So the teeth, the upper teeth, is part of the upper gum, you know. So don't get confused with the definition. The third one, is changing the dha into sad with a hint of a zai. So that is a common mistake in Arabic countries and non-Arabic countries. When they say al-zalimin, they say az-zalimin, az-zalimin, az, right? So that is very common in many countries, Arab and non-Arab countries, just for the people who pronounce it this way not to feel too bad about themselves. You should feel bad because you're pronouncing it wrong, but that is not necessarily related to your language or your background. It is a common mistake in all backgrounds. Same thing with the dhal. They mix it with a zai, becomes a'uzu or a'uzu. Some people say zu or az-zakirin. And these are major mistakes because you're changing the meaning to another letter. Like when you say a'uzu, a'uzu means I need. Min aza ya'uzu, a'uzu. A'udhu means I seek refuge. So meaning changes completely. Same thing with the last example, changing the tha into sin or a ta. The example we have is فَكَثَّرَكُمْ. Some people say فَكَثَّرَكُمْ. And this one also a major mistake because it changed the meaning dramatically. So فَكَثَّرَكُمْ means he increased you, he multiplied you. فَكَثَّرَكُمْ means he destroyed you, he smashed you, like broke you down into pieces. Taksir, that's what it means. Or فَكَتَّرَكُمْ. فَكَتَّرَكُمْ also not allowed. Another common mistake which is not mentioned in the book here, which is the closing the lips when you say the Allah. Closing the lips when you say Allah for the heaviness. Allah, Allah. Or some people say Allah, Allah, Az-zalimin, Allah. You know, some people say Allah. All of that is not allowed. Or also some people say Al-Dhalimin, Al-Dhalimin. So they lower the dha. It sounds like a dha. Al-Dhalimin. Right? All of these are not allowed. Any questions on these ones, brother? That's good. Next one is page 112. Common mistakes with the fa. The first one is not making it clear due to weakness of its whisper. As in فَكَثَّرَكُمْ فَكَثَّرَكُمْ or تَفْعَلُونَ. Some people say فَكَثَّرَكُمْ like this. فَكَثَّرَكُمْ because they are so used to it, you know. So they don't give the letter its right. Fa, make it clear, right? Same thing with تفعلون. Some people say تفعلون تفعلون like this. Make it very quick. They pass by it like it's not there. Obviously it's whispered and it's also loose. So in both cases you have to make it longer. You have to make it very clear when you pronounce it. When you have sukoon on it. In the case of تفعلون. The second example, which is related to dialects, is changing its sound to something like V. So when you say الضفادع, they say الضفادع. Why is that? Because of the also dialects and the accent and the fact that the letter before it is heavy. So instead of saying الضفادع, الضفادع, or when you say same thing, not like V, but also making the fa heavy, as in the word فضل, فضل. When people say فضل, they say fa, 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 and fa are two different things, right? So fa means you're making the fa heavy. Why? Because the dad that's happening after it. So some people say بنعمة من الله وفضل. فضل is wrong. فضل, فضل. That's the right pronunciation. So these are two additional ones to the book, you know. Good. Next one is we have the waw, non-lengthening waw. The non-lengthening waw, the first one is making it heavy when it is beside the heavy letter. Now some people try to do the same thing with the alif. You know, when your alif is following the letter before it, they say the waw follows the letter after it. There is no such a rule. So when you say wallah, wallah, you don't say wallah, wallah. Don't make the waw get heavy because of the Allah after it. Wallah. The second common mistake, not circling the lips completely when pronouncing it, as in the word وَكَانَ. Some people say وَكَانَ اللَّهُ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ, because they are, as in the fa before it, فَكَثَرَكُمْ, they are used to it. You know, they say وَكَانَ اللَّهُ وَكَانَ, like this. Has to be وَكَانَ وَكَانَ. Make the waw clear with the fatha, everything, before you go for the kana. The third common mistake is excessive pressure on the lips, especially when it's stressed. We said that with the waw, with the shadda, and the ya with shadda, you have to do the nabr, which we'll discuss later, inshallah, in the book. Because of that, what happens is it adds a noise to it, which is a result of excessive narrowness of the articulation point. So instead of saying قوامين, قوامين, like this, they say قوامين, قوامين. Or when you say خوانا, خوانا, like this, they say خوانا, خوانا. That's not allowed. That's excessive pressure on the articulation point. Last page, inshallah, for today. We have the common mistakes that occurs with the two letters ba and the mim. The first one is whispering the ba, as in the word Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Some people say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillah, bis, bis, you know. So they are so used to the scene or the whisper of the scene, they pull the pa with the same whisper, so it becomes p, p. You know, it has to be b, b. أجد قطن بكت. The ba is one of the shadid letters, strong letters. There is no whisper to it. There is no p in Arabic language. It's only b. That's why when you see Arabs speaking English, it's difficult for them to pronounce the p because there is no p in Arabic language. The second one is making it heavy when it occurs beside a heavy letter, as in the word al-batil, al-batil. Some people say al-batil, al-batil. Ba is not Arabic. There's no ba in Arabic. There is ba, ba-til. The ta is heavy, the ba is not. Third common mistake is not giving it qalqala when it has sukoon, as in the word yuba, yubsirun, yubsirun. Some people say yubsirun, يبصرون. That's not with the qalqala. And the last one, inshallah, common mistakes with harful meme. The first one is cutting off its sound when stopping on it until it almost becomes a ba. Ar-Rahim. That's Ar-Rahim. I'm trying to make it a little bit longer than normal just to show you the nasal part. Some people say Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahim. Right? Now, you see some of the Qurra maybe online, their recitation sounds like that because of the filtration. Because the people who do the audio processing, they are not necessarily tajweed, have tajweed knowledge. So they try to remove noise, and then normally the nasal part, the nasal sound is considered unwanted for songs, for music, for anything. When they use the nasal part, they take it out. It becomes Ar-Rahib. Ar-Rahib. Ar-Rahib means wide, means spacious. Ar-Rahim means the most gracious, the most merciful. Sorry. The second one is making it heavy when it occurs beside a heavy letter, as in the word makhmasah, makhmasah. The meme, the second meme specifically, becomes, because it's between the kha and the sad, it becomes makhmasah, makhmasah. Or some people pull the first meme as well, it becomes makhmasah, makhma, makhma. Both the ma, it's not allowed. It's ma, makhmasah, makhmasah. Same thing with the word marad, marad. You can't say marad, marad. That's not allowed. Marad. Yeah. Then we have the last one. Third one is giving it qalqala when it has sukoon. Some people, instead of saying yamtarun, they say yamtarun, yamtarun. Or صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, أنعمت عليهم. They say أنعمت. They say أنعمت عليهم, أنعمت عليهم. I can't even pronounce it, sorry. Give me 1 second. أنعمت عليهم. Yeah, I can do it mistakenly, but I can't read it because it's wrong. It's very wrong. So أنعمت عليهم. عمت عليهم. Yeah. So that sums it up for the common mistakes. Now, of course, there will be lots of other ones, but that's what we have managed to put in the book, and also some of my additions to it, inshallah, just from experience with non-Arabic reciters, because the book is heavily focused on people who read Arabic. And inshallah, next week we'll start with the merging of the two letters, al-idgham, inshallah. That's when the letters start interacting with each other. Because so far, what we have been focused on is each letter by itself, all of its articulation point, characteristics, but we have never dealt with what happens when this letter and this letter meet. That's when we start, inshallah, on page 115. So I'll open up for questions before we close off. Others? I know it's heavy material, lots of people in the room, but just feel free to ask if you have anything of concern.
I think a lot of the content today was similar to what was studied earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, it's based on what we studied earlier.
Yes. It's just clarifying it, as you rightfully said. And it's also saying, because many people asked before the course, they said, do we get the chance to experiment? So obviously we're doing the individual recitation halaqa, but this specific chapter is very important to show the mistakes, because it's normally the books just talk about what's right. This one talks about what's wrong. So it's very, very good, inshallah, to help even with teaching. Okay, inshallah, we'll close off this one because you guys have to go for Maghrib. So keep questions coming on the WhatsApp group anyways if you wanted to. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
السلام ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة
وعليكم
الله
السلام
وعليكم
ورحمة الله
السلام
وبركاته،
ورحمة
جزاك
الله
الله خير.
وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.